Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all well. Happy Sunday. Wow, so slightly different time today. In the future, I think it might be just a little later, maybe somewhere around 9 o'clock. And thank you for joining me today. So I'm making sure that I am live, that there's not some setting that I couldn't see that made me kind of speak to myself on Wednesday, but I got the teaching out as soon as I could. Um, so it's nice to be live with you all again this morning. It's really special when we get to practice together and we get to be here together. Um, it's really the highlight of my week. Um, there's something to be said being with people, even if it's just over the internet, who are all on this spiritual journey together. It's a very beautiful thing um, to look at life more in a deeper, more expansive, larger way than just about living. Materiality, family, though it's important, and having material things to help us live and have better lives is very important. But to view life in a much larger sense as well, to incorporate spirituality, religion, to think larger than ourselves, to look at ourselves, to see how we can deepen, how we can improve, how we can grow. You know, it's very interesting when we're younger, as children and adolescents and young adults, I guess in our 20s, we're very much about growing and learning. And then you kind of hit a stage in your life where it's more about living and going through life, but we kind of, for many people, lose the vision of growing, of taking our adult, mature minds that have been formed, hopefully for the better, and making that even bigger and start exploring things in ways that we weren't able to as the very young, and to see things with eyes of experience, eyes of knowing more about the world and what life is, and then seeing, what is this about? What am I about? What's my life about? And the very important, I think almost most important question is, what would I like my life to be about? What focuses, plural, that I would like my life to be about, and what I would like to bring into my life. What do I wish to build in myself and how I engage in the world, the way I perceive the world in my life? Because it can be very narrow. Right? It could be all about ourselves, what we want, what we would like, and we have such blinders on. You know, like horses, they have these like things that cover their eyes, makes them only be able to look straight ahead. Keeps horses from getting scared. I think horses who pull wagons back in the day had it so they were looked on the road, and if something jumped out from the sides, it wouldn't scare the horse. And for many of us going through life, there's a certain blinders on our goals, where we want to go, and it's from destination to destination to destination. And at the end of our lives, we're like, whoa, it's almost we were on train tracks. But there's an invitation, excuse my accent, an invitation that our lives can be more of an exploration as well. An exploration of our world, and quite importantly, an exploration of our inner world. Making sure I hear myself. I want to make sure I'm streaming here. So, an exploration of our inner world, which, because we see ourselves and we live our lives based on what's in us, how we perceive, our changed perspective changes how we perceive our outer world. Our outer world is not objective. Oh, my complicated English. I so apologize to people who have English as a second, third, or maybe even fourth language. Sometimes my words is, I use certain words in English because they're very precise. It's very clear. So the language is a little more complicated because I like to give precise teachings that aren't vague, that aren't not clear. See, I even use the word vague. So I hope people have found a way to, on YouTube, to be able to translate almost real time into your native language. And then I think the precision will be very helpful. Or have a program where you could download and have it translated with a typing, like a transcript. But how we perceive our outer world is dependent based on how we see it, what software in our mind, our way of perceiving, do we have. And it's not fixed. It's not set. For many people, kind of you hit the 30s and mid 30s. When you hit, I think it's the magic age of 35, things start setting. You no longer see yourself as youth, and you feel yourself moving into adulthood, and something starts to set. And things stay how you perceive it. And even in your 20s, even late teenagers, two people can look at the same thing and see something completely different. Experience it in a different way. Some might find it boring, and others are like, wow, I could, like in nature, some people be like, oh my gosh, this is horribly boring. And they don't see the birds, they don't hear the birds, they don't feel the space, and they don't feel their anxiety or tension leave them, that they finally could breathe for the first time in 3 weeks. They actually want to flee the space. The same space, two different reactions. But the space is the same. It's similar in life. Two people can be going through the same thing, but they're perceiving it and engaging with it differently. Their emotions with regard to it, even if they may have had the same background, but because two perceive it differently, some might see defeat, some might see opportunity, some might see that it's temporary. Some might find strength and places to grow from a situation. Others might want to flee the situation. And all is sort of based on our thoughts. Yes? When we study religion, spirituality, ethics, ways to improve ourselves, we're rewriting our minds, our thoughts. Even though I often, though I do stress the importance of the mind in our thoughts, they still are very important to learn, but also to recognize that our thoughts and the way we perceive, the way we talk to ourselves, the way we judge, very much governs our lives, right? And that's one of the reasons I encourage people to feel, to clear the energy channels. So there's room for different ways. The coding isn't locked in. Suddenly there's a wiggle. Suddenly there's an openness. Suddenly there's wider perspectives that you can see the beauty of nature. That you're not trapped into a tight, intense space at times, but you know how to release the grip of the emotions and of the mind, because it's much more than our thoughts and our minds. Modern people are very locked in our minds. It's very analytical. We're most of us highly educated. Some would say overly educated. We've lost touch with our feelings, our instincts. We don't hear that little voice saying, oh, I don't know about this. Why don't you do this? Be careful, you might lose that. This week, my little voice said, you better put that with this or you're going to misplace it. I'm like, oh, what? I'm not going to misplace that. It's going to be around. I'll find it. Well, 3 days later, I still haven't found it. How did my little voice know this? And it happens many times. And we learn to see that somehow there's a lot more going on. Yet we can't quite grab onto it. The locking in our minds is a surface layer. And many of us in modern society, we think that's all there is. That surface layer. And it's a whole world. So it feels complete because we don't know anything outside that container, that spectrum. We think it's 100%. It's like people who viewed the world as the center of the universe, right? So many of us view ourselves as the center of the universe, and in some ways we are, but some ways we're not. Because individually, we all perceive everything out there. But if we stress too much importance, we forget about other people having their life experience. how we engage with our planet and how we affect that. But then, with curiosity, we might realize, is there more than this? And we begin to discover a universe that is not just the planet and the sun and the Mars we can see, and I think we could see Venus with our naked eye, right? We see the moon. I guess if you know where they are, you might be able to pick certain other planets. But if you didn't really have a telescope, I think that's kind of where you're sort of limited, right? But then, hold on, there's Pluto and there's other universes, which I think if you know where to look, you could see them, right? And there's the Milky Way, that big band of stars that's like a halo that passes somewhere at 2, 3, or 4 in the morning. You can see it. That's the band of our galaxy. There's more out there. And in many ways, the exploration of knowledge from history, from masters, from sacred books, from different practices, passed on to us from prophets, from some say God, people who can be conduits and pass on something that's beyond anything that existed at the time, which assist us today. These are doors beyond our earth, beyond our personal self, right? Our own earth, beyond even what society, for the most part today, simply not interested in, beyond what we think is possible, even what people who are religious or spiritual focus on. You realize, oh, there's even layers that are deeper, which even aren't as common. And we realize that a journey is not necessarily outside of ourselves, but that a greater engagement outside of ourselves can be nourished by going within. In many ways, this is why throughout history there have been monastics, monks, yogis, holy people who go into caves. In Judaism, they went into deserts where they were probably caves, right? The aesthetics. They go to simplicity because what is there out there? Not a lot. It's barren. There's not a lot. So they're forced to turn inwards with themselves. They bring a text. Well, after a while of reading it, they're familiar. There's no new stories. So what's left? They contemplate it. They internalize it. They become a living text. They become a living example of the virtues of the texts. How? Because they look at themselves and they work on themselves. They release the energies that are not in keeping with a holy ways. They polish, they fine tune. And then when they go back into the world, or even they perceive the world they're in, it's no longer boring. It's magical. It's full of wonder. Everything becomes fresh. The text becomes fresh. They always see it with new eyes. no matter how old we become, we can still look at things with the eyes of a child, a 6-year-old, the eyes of open eyes of wonder, of like, wow, the eyes of exploration, because our minds are open. Every time we read a passage, no matter how many times, it's fresh, it's new, and that permits us to discover new meanings, new connections, to continually have that aha moment. Because our world expands, our minds are flexible and open and always learning, forever growing. And the learning isn't just to learn, the learning translates to the outside, how we perceive, how we see things, how we walk. What's our walk? What's our talk? What's our actions? Are we gentle? Are we soft? Do we have boundaries? Boundaries are healthy, but do we have walls? Do we have some tolerance of others, which is our humanity? Or are we intolerant? Do we see people who have needs, who work hard to feed their families? Do we see the immigrants? Do we see the ill? Do we see the struggling? Are we kind? And you can tell a lot about a person by their walk, WALK, how they go through life. And in many ways, that reflects their internal world. Unless they're faking it and, watch out. But if it's authentic, and even then you could have compassion to those who judge, to those who hate, to those in violence. That doesn't mean you indulge it, but then you realize, what's their world like? Why this? Why they hate? Why this? And you might understand. They might not have enough. And therefore, they want to take away for others so they can have more. Well, that's a thing. That's a strong ego. Why are they that way? And it's not to have the tolerance, but it's so we don't lock in and then develop hatred. There's a spaciousness, not necessarily allowing them to indulge, but there's a spaciousness in us to realize something created that. And then realizing we made different choices, expansive choices, choices to realize it's important to care for another. to not take away from others, to love and care. Because as we do our internal discovery in ourselves, we discover something greater than ourselves, that we are rooted in love and compassion. At our core is not hate, but care, attentiveness, sensitivity. We are part of a universe. This world is big. There are, 10 billion? I can't even imagine what that number is. 10 billion. I get a concept of 900 million, barely. But imagine this 10 times of 900 million people. There's a universe of experience, of consciousness on this planet, and that's not even accounting the animals. I don't know how many animals there must be. What, 1 trillion? If you don't count the bugs, how many birds? Dolphins, rabbits, gophers. They all have their experience. Do we see them, their needs, their love, their inquisitiveness? We're not meant to be islands. We're part of a vibrant tapestry, a mosaic of differences. But we're also very, very similar. We all have basic consciousness that's very similar, and it's compassionate, it's wise, it's intelligent. Wisdom and intelligence are not necessarily the same thing. There'll be a lot of wise people that are not intelligent, and a lot of intelligence that's not wise. It's compassionate and loving, and it's eternal. This is a passing experience on this planet that rides on consciousness, our souls, the living spark, the thing that fades from someone's eyes as they die. If you ever, anybody seen anybody die, something leaves. You see a spark. You see life leave. I didn't see extinguishment. I saw leaving. We all have that in common. So when we do the journey inwards, which is what we're doing, what we're focusing on, this is really where the rubber meets the road. It's an English American expression. You have to look it up. I don't even know how to explain it. This is where I guess it means a car, maybe rubber. I had never looked it up. I guess where your car hits the road and you travel. This is where the ground zero is. The work. And it's not work. I don't like using that word. A focus. We have many focuses. And I think we decide to make a focus of our inner journey, which is very personal and individual. We could come together as a group, we can get teachings, but ultimately it's up to us. Do we choose to walk the walk, talk the talk, feel the feel? By working with ourselves to expand, to grow. But see, we're not growing in a sense because we're already whole inside. We are not depleted at our core. We are not imperfect at our core. We don't need to add anything. We actually don't need to grow because we're fully grown inside. What we're doing is uncovering, rediscovering, reconnecting with those parts that's there in us. It's not from a sense of poverty. We're not good enough. We're not expansive enough. We're not whole enough. That we are damaged in some way. No. No. It's more like we are cut off. We are not in communion with the fountain of life, the tree of life, the spring and river of life that flows within. It's like we're out in nature and our land is parched. Parched, another English word. Our land has no water or very little water, and things don't grow. The nature of our society, the nature of our grandparents and parents, and the hereditary ways of thinking, even our genetics predisposes us to certain things. Our society. Look, I grew up in the 80s, right? My friends' parents were younger than my parents. They were 60s and 70s, hippies, 50s. They did the 70s, right? Kids nowadays had parents who did the 90s. They grew up differently. They had different presidents, different economic events. I experienced September 11th as an adult. Can you imagine if you were 14 years old? But when I was 14, I saw the Challenger space shuttle explode on live TV when I was in 6th grade. Right? So it's different. All of that comes and is part of us. Do you see? That's the ground. Our religion, where we're born, which religion? Are our parents practicing? Are our parents faking it? My mother was faking it. I shockingly discovered later in life. Well, it looked odd to me the way she practiced. But that has an effect on how I perceived it. The church I went to, the temples I went to, the different teachers at the feet of which I learned from. Wisdom in choosing, not wisdom in choosing, trusting one's inner call, trusting one's personal relationship with God. That's our ground, our level of education, our level of money. Are we lower class? I don't like saying that. Do we have a lot of means, a lot of money, or very little? Do we struggle? Do we not struggle? Did we never know struggle? Born into great wealth, always had people to feed us, to clothe us, never knew not being able to pay for anything that one wants. To those who grew up on beans and used clothes, and having a new pair of tennis shoes was a wonder that the parents had to save to get that new pair. That's our ground. It's part of us. And there are the positives and the negatives. I've heard of people, to give an example, right? We think people who grew up in extreme wealth are like they have everything. I have heard some people with extreme wealth get very depressed or even committed suicide because they didn't get that Ferrari at age 16 that they wanted. And we're like, wow, that's ridiculous. No, from their perspective, that event was so traumatic that it destroyed them. A totally different perspective and the way of perceiving the world, yet that for them was suffering. And suffering is suffering. Pain is pain. Many forms, that's the ground. But is our ground, our terrain, our individual landscape lush, full of life and trees and birds, flowing, touching with the river of life? Or is it barren, like a desert, with little trees, maybe a small little trickling of a river that has a little grass, and then 5 feet away, it's, not a whole lot, and not a whole lot of creatures. Maybe the creatures are all little lizards that look the same. That's all that could live there. And I would say in our world, there's a lot of, in myself and in the past, I don't know a lot of people that would say their world is lush and flowing. What do? We can say that's us and identify, think that the barren world is us. We identify with it. And then we try to work and improve and change it by looking external and try to rearrange it, which of course is fine, which we kind of should try, right? And that works or doesn't work. And it might take us really far. But are we changing just the external? But how do we perceive, and from what source do we live from within ourselves? We are completely whole, lush, full of life to 100%, but it's within us. So how do you what's the word? Reconcile. How do you explain barrenness, parchness, and also, grief, despair, loneliness, all these things that we go through, especially as modern people. I can't speak about people in the past, but, today, how do we say there's wholeness And yet there's everything else that causes us pain, that causes us to not see or live in that way. What we don't realize is there's springs, deep sources of water and life beneath the soil. There's a huge aquifer, a huge lake of beautiful, pure water of life that if we're able to tap into and bring it up out of the ground, up from deep within ourselves, our world can become Eden. We could bring it up and there will be life, trees, fruit. The birds will come and lay their eggs. We'll have eagles and wonder, flowers, beautiful smells. Our desert will magically, like an oasis in the middle of the desert, have everything we need. It sustains us. You could have deserts, and then there's a place where the water just comes up. And what's there? Shade and fuel and life for the traveler in the middle of nowhere. I've read of places where people go through the desert and they go from one oasis to the next, to the next, to the next. And that's how they get through a desert when they walk through. But our whole world, by looking and going deeper, we could find that flow, that fountain, that river, that tree of life deep within ourselves, that inner cathedral with everything. And it can flow up through us, healing diseases, healing our minds, our emotions, our traumas, whatever is our earth, which is not even our fault. Kids are open. Teenagers, whatever school we go to, depending is how we perceive our world. What we're subjected to in sixth grade or whatever grade. Did our mother die at age 9 while we were in the car in a horrific car wreck, and you saw the woman we loved the most in the world die in front of our eyes? The child has no effect on that. Or did we live in a beautiful, loving family surrounded by aunts and great aunts and grandparents, and we had 5 brothers and sisters, or we were an only child? All of that affects us. We are the sum, the equal sign of all our experiences, or those experiences we didn't have. And that's what we have to work with. And yet, from all these experiences, we lock in to we are what we are, the sum or not of our experiences. And we have a sense of whatever the emotional equal sign is of that. But yet, within ourselves is everything we have to rebalance, regrow, to release all of that. So we could see the joy and the beauty and the life in the present moment that has perfection in it. And so when we do practices inner practices, what's called the inner yogas in one tradition, we go inwards to touch in to that golden nugget that I've talked about, that inner pure space. The nugget of gold I've spoken about many times. This is just a different analogy. We're going into that deep, pure river so it could bubble forth and outwards and fully redo. So we have the full possibility as if our life was Eden in the past. Doesn't remove the memories or what did or did not, but frees us so that it's open in the present moment. So we don't have that baggage of good and bad. It's no longer important. It's the past. The more you do your work, the less you think about things. The less you think about the past, but the less that you think at all. The brain, I don't know how to say it, is less dominant, but yet we're more intelligent. We think better and differently and wider, and we make better choices, yet we're not in our minds thinking. We just know with a capital K. We are living from a deeper place where we can see clearly, not based on our past or our youth, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, but we see and we act just based on what's there, but it's from a purer source. We've tapped into a river, a bounty, an elixir, the Shekhinah, the wavelength of God, if one's religious, the wavelength of the purity of the universe, of truth, wisdom, love. This is how someone can think of a saint or a prophet who has nothing, yet is completely happy. I've been to India, seen people with leprosy. Yes, leprosy still exists in this world. How? I don't know. There's antibiotics to cure it. I don't, when it's early, I don't understand. Yet this exists. I've seen people with nothing, many people, no education, no hope, in a society that's very hierarchical. That just, it says this is the way they're born, this is the way they're going to be, and that's their place in life. And it's locked in a caste system that still somewhat exists, even in this country. But yet they're so happy, like buoyantly happy, and they're not faking it. You see the glow of happiness. And yet they're on the street begging for dimes. And they're not faking it. Yet they're happy, and their children are happy. What's that? How? They are connected with the inner wellspring. And they live from that. And they don't see or perceive a lack. Their joy is anchored in something very deep. And it flows. So when we do our practices, I want to find an image, and I'm trying to find it while speaking, and it wasn't, it's hard to, I don't want to misspeak, so I focus on that. But Let me find the image here. Where are my pictures? Mm-hmm. Here we go. Right where it should be, and I look over it like 5 times. Here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course it's not in this folder. One moment, please. Check that I'm good signal. Yes. Okay. Let's see. Mhm. Here we are. Oh, pops straight up. Okay. This is it. That's at our core. Tree of life. Remember, I gave a lot of teachings on this. This is at our core. This is why we can go inwards and transform and change. Otherwise, why go inwards if there's nothing there? It would be a very bad journey, one that shouldn't be taught, because what do you get? It's taught, it's shown, it's explained, because this is what's here. This is where prophets live. This is where people are happy, even if externally you wouldn't necessarily think so, because they've in touch with that inner cathedral. See, this is the good news. This is in every single person. And the journey is to uncover it, to allow it to flow, to bubble forth. I'm looking at images here. Images tell 1,000 words. Mhm. I have a lot of beautiful images, so kind of here. Let's see. I discussed this image about a year ago, where the teachings went to another level. People remember this? Last February, if you're new or wish to remember, is a series of about 5 teachings, 6 teachings. Last year on the Aleph and the Sipharotes, and around teaching 4 or 5, if I remember correctly, I discussed this image. And I can't quite get into it now because it's a whole thing. It's very profound. But we see it outside of ourselves, God, the Aleph, the source of life, what God is, that's beyond description. And we see it coming from externally, which is one way, but it's internal. The blessings shine forth. The blessings are the purities of that rainbow. But that comes forth from the river as well. Is it external? Is it internal? Is it both? When you're in it, it's just there. It's present. So it's not internal or external because you feel it. And how do you feel it? Because it's made its way inside in some way. It's either come in externally, we could see that way, or it's bubbled up from the core of us and gone into a space where we can feel it, where we could resonate with it. And then it's so easy, much easier to see it come from outside of us, that the actually comes from the trees, it comes from the birds. We've become more open. We've resonating, we're feeling that particular frequency, which is in all things. See, it gets very profound, very quick. I think all of this is profound, but it's in all things. But why can't we get that sense from all things? Why are things so solid? The tree is a tree. Why don't we see it as vibrant, lush, alive, magical even? Because we are not developed that sort of sensitivity. Our world is parched, and therefore what falls on it is absorbed by the frequencies that dominate us. So we don't see it, and it doesn't thrive, it doesn't land, it doesn't grow. It's seeds that are not watered. So with this type of teaching that I'm giving now, I'm saying the water that nourishes, that can cause things to grow, come from within. Through our work, through our prayers, through our deep work. Our world, like this tree, is lush and vibrant with life. And it could feed us. Our external world can nourish us. But are we able to see it in that way? And if not, why not? And it's not judgment, I'm this, or I'm too broken, or I'm stuck, or that's just the way I am. No. 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 I'm not a fan of that teaching. I don't buy into it. I'll just say it, and I rarely go in the negative. That is a wrong view. Wrong way of perceiving that. That locks you in and gives you a sense of it's poisonous. And I see a lot of people with it, and it's very, very sad to me because I see the beauty of them. I see the beauty of the potential that they can't see in themselves. And it's stuck in a circle of that. There's great beauty in all of us. And I think one of the reasons of life is to grow, to become that, to allow the best parts of ourselves to spring forth seeds of flowers, that our garden has birds, and therefore our walk, our talk, our actions are of life. We bubble it forth like a spring gushing from the ground. Because we've opened and we've gone inwards and we've cracked those difficult spaces. So the Shekhinah, the love, the life, the tree, the fountain is able to go up through into parts that we can feel and transform them, nourish the droughts, the damage, the everything, our fucked upness, our limited thoughts, but also our beauty and our wonder that we have today, and make it more. Improve what's good in us and make it greater. And heal and grow where the sand and the dirt has never given fruit, or a little bit, or it's not quite right, partial. And as it comes into those parts, as it goes into our bones, our frequency changes. And as we see with different frequencies through our eyes, our brains function at higher frequencies. We see differently outside. We perceive ourselves and see things that's going on within ourselves differently. Our thoughts are different, bigger, more expansive. We understand things differently. And our world, the way we engage and perceive, becomes different. And then the outside, is it coming from the outside? Yes, it always has. But now it really is, because now we're engaging with what was always in front. And we say, oh, the world's changed. Well, let's say the world hasn't changed, but we've changed. And therefore, for us, for our individual earth has changed, because we perceive it a certain way. 10 billion people, there's 10 billion Earths. Because we all perceive it differently. We all engage differently. We all live it in a different way. If my family had remained in Europe, I would be a different person. I would perceive things differently. I would have grown up in a different culture and society. I would be different. We all live different ways. But yet, our earth can change. For ourselves. Based on, are we tapped in to life that exists within us? When we flourish, when a tree flourishes and bears fruit, it nourishes everything that's around it. The birds find shade. The birds can lay nests in it. Animals come to eat the fruit. Its leaves fall down and fertilize the ground so other plants may grow. The more plants, the more ground, it attracts moisture, and then it rains there. Deserts used to be tropical. If you look, the Sahara Desert apparently was a tropical paradise. But it grew warmer, the trees died, and then with no trees, it doesn't rain, interestingly enough, which causes it not to grow. So the tree that grows, that's us, nourishes our families because we provide through our actions, through our repairing, brings a rain of life outside of ourselves, our tapping into our inner spring causes us to change with our perception. We are fed from our spring, from our changed perspective in the world, and therefore our engagement changes. And then how people relate to us change, which in turn gives us more energy, more positivity, which reinforces us. If we're not a good person, we go into a room, people don't see us, or they don't want to talk to us, or they're short, or they're snappy. Or you go into a room and everybody wants to hug and to kiss because you love on them, and then now they love on you. And then it becomes a cycle of nourishment. Do you go in nature? Do animals run away from you? Or do animals allow you to approach? Does a bird land on your finger? Do cats and dogs you don't know come up to you and or look at you with love and approach? Or do they run away? One feeds you and nourishes you, the other one makes you feel very different, which locks you in to that way of being because you're resentful, you don't know care, you don't understand others, you don't know how to relate because the relationship doesn't flow. So, with this cycle of teaching, which is essential, this cycle, this learning, which changed my life, we focus inward. It's the quickest path, the fastest path, because we're relating directly with ourselves to tap in to wholeness. Wholeness. Because we are whole. We are love. We are intelligent. We are complete. We are fully loved by God inside. So we bring it forth to make us that way actually in our manifestation, in our thoughts, in our emotions. We become the living word because all that's pure and great is the basis of all. And therefore, our actions are in keeping with sacred texts because these frequencies that we tap into are based on the truth and the reality of things. And so the texts we find inspiration from are very much within us as well, because it all lines up. So by reading them, we get inspiration. And it's possible because those qualities are within us. They're seeds, or they're fully bountiful and flowing, but it's like an inner cave that's a paradise. But we haven't reached lower into ourselves to tap into that so it becomes all of us. So we are whole and we are beautiful. It's letting it shine forth. It radiates, comes from ourselves. See? Yes? See? This image that I've shown several times, and for people who are new, just, go through the archives I've linked to, and there's a PDF, and see what interests you. And don't be overwhelmed. Just pick a couple that the topics are like, wow, I want to read about this. And then if you like it, then you look at a couple more. And over the course of a couple months or a year or two, you'll get all this. So you just take a little piece, right? Don't, and just go a little here, a little there, and you will soon arrive. Yes? The rider and the horse. Yes? So if this interests you, just, you type in the rider and the horse in the PDF, and then poof, there it is. This is someone whose inner spring is flowing, that their manifestation in life is aligned with the inner truth. So in the way we can see it as the inner life, the inner tree, we could see it as the horse, one way of perceiving this. And we are in alignment with that as we ride and we direct our life how we choose. And that's the rider on the horse. It's aligned. You see, he's perfectly set on the horse in balance. He's not off balance. And he's in control. The reins are tight. And the horse isn't fighting the rider. They're one. We are become a living expression of the Shekhinah, a living expression of the knowledge, life force, wisdom of God manifesting in our individual way. This is a man, not a woman, right? So he's a man manifesting as a man, or a woman manifesting as a woman, right? I can't quite see him. I found one time how to increase the size. Perfect. Oh my gosh, Lord. This is perfect. So the image is, hold on. It's not always meant to blow up too much. But I blew up a little bit. And he's middle-aged a little bit. He has a certain character. He has a personality. So no one is erased. You become the best parts of yourself. You're masculine, you're more effeminate, you're gay, you're straight, you're older, you're younger. You're more intellectual, like you're a scholar, or you're more of a free spirit. You retain the qualities of yourself, or you change because those qualities was a little not fully in keeping with the wellspring of life. And so as you bloom, you've transformed. But you are happy because you knew at your core that was it of you. And now you're fully manifesting that. You've come into your wholeness. Wholeness. Yes? This is why the Aleph tree of life from another teaching with the Sephirotes, which I discussed a year ago. Right? This is at our core. Another way of showing this. Yes? That's our Sephirotes. That's our alignment of the different energies from God. That pure sense from the very, very source of manifestation of God, when it was just beyond a word, beyond a thought, just the innate flow of divine life that exists before duality, is within us. We are never broken off or fully disconnected, otherwise we couldn't be alive here. Anything cut off from life, it just can't. You see, this is always that spark. That's part of the fountain where it all flows from. And it's not just something outside, a perfect, a concept, and we're not that. We are that at our core. But we're not that because that's not part of our walk or our talk. There's fractures, there's breaks, there's things to heal. So we can't say we are that right now. We can't say our true selves is that. But it's the journey for that to come forth, to balance the sephirots. So they're in alignment. Right? I'm just connecting everything here. It's important to connect. Yes. And if you knew, don't worry. It's there somewhere in the teachings. It's all there. Find it when you do. The idea is to understand the idea of what it is. These are just connecting ancient sources of how it was explained, beautiful, wonderful, wondrous, but also not necessary. Not necessary. This isn't the path. One doesn't need to understand this. Fascinating. I'm intellectual. It's important that the teachings are rest on what's real and true. And this gives me the guidance to know that what I'm saying is legit. Right? And people understand it and like studying this. Wonderful. But it's not the path. The path is connecting within and doing that work and unleashing what exists within us to find the balance that causes, this is what this thing, this map, this of the sephirots is in alignment. Some are blocked, some are more feminine, more masculine, the left, right sides, and it flows to who we manifest as, which is kingdom at the bottom. In balance or out of balance? This shows in balance, coming from God, who's the crown and above. And everything else is how it manifests in different ways. The wellspring within us flows and naturally, without effort in that sense to consciously try to do things to manifest, the flow naturally heals. Naturally balances. When we work with the blockages in our body, the blockages in our chakras, which is the chakras would be more in the kingdom aspect. Our physicality. Sephiroth is less on the physicality, more energetic and mental and different. I haven't really talked exactly how they link, but the chakras in our body, how our body manifests energy are in the kingdom aspect and below, right? All of that, when it flows forth, line up. And as it lines up, it connects. And as it connects, we begin to live in that way. but it's not necessarily led by our minds, our knowledge, our intent. It's lived by going inwards and unlocking it through practice, through prayer. Study to a certain extent for inspiration, and there's energies you derive from texts, and that aha moment and something unlocks. But then what unlocks? You've unlocked the flow of energy from within. But these teachings I'm teaching are working with energy, directly with energy. When we say mantras in the names of God, we are bringing in energy, a matrix of sound and vibration that works directly within ourselves, which transforms us, which interacts with what is not aligned, interacts with the parchedness, the lack of water that we're living from, areas to improve or areas that are wonderful, but could even be more. And it heals and allows this flower of life, the blessings from above that come within us, that are within us, that merge upwards, and it changes us, makes us a living wholeness. So it's important to see our potential, that we, for religious, come from God, and we're doing the walk, the effort to become closer to our birthright, to become closer to how God is in His perfection, with the right thinking and the right actions, walking in wisdom. And it's our journey. And I think this is why we're alive on this planet, is to walk that journey. And we have the possibilities with a lot of the names. Let me see here. I haven't looked at this in a while. Let's see here. Mm, I haven't looked at this in a long time. It's in every direction. I think this is good, but I just want to make sure. It's one. I haven't, well, it's many names of God, but he uses a lot the name Jehovah, which I haven't touched upon. I prefer using Yahweh or Yadve Vahe. But you have an idea. We have so many names of gods that we can use, and I have on my PDF, and they all have frequencies. It's just beautiful, kind of, how they all are. Many are all traditional. El Elyon, Yahweh, Jehovah Shammah, or Yahweh Shammah, Shalom, Elohim. And so we have the potential and ways to go about changes. Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. The other one, I just like the color of the other one. It's nice. I like it. Just it gives you. It's very alive. Whoever I have to explain. It's a translation from the Middle Ages. I haven't gotten to it, but you kind of see in a different way. These are old images that I had found a long time ago, but it kind of pointed me in a direction that shows that there's a whole, yeah, see, it's not quite, yeah, kind of exploring through my pictures a little bit. But ultimately, sort of getting back to what I create, there's all these frequencies using many different names. Abba El Shaddai, Elohim El Shaddai, Yahweh El Shaddai, Abba Elohim El Shaddai, Abba Yahweh Emmanuel. Yeah. Wow. See, that I feel that for me today created a connection. Like I've picked up the line, the hotline, and I feel like that connected in a deep communication type way. Yahweh Elohim El Shaddai. That's very powerful. Like Yahweh Elohim El Shaddai, I feel like it's put up a sort of a force field of power that emanates. They all have certain effects on us. They help us line up. They help us connect with our birthright, with attributes, ways of being, ways of manifesting divine energy. That's always sort of been our heritage from God. We're meant to be in connection with the flow of the Shekhinah, of the life force that's within us. And the journey that I really teach is the journey from within. Journey energy coming in from beneath our body, the spiral underneath, coming through, engaged in the heart chakra, and moving up outwards, but it's also inwards. We're connected from above, the upper triangle. We connect up. It's also within us, in us, and it's beyond, inwards or outwards, neither, both. It's present, both together, sort of non-duality, but it's also alive and present. It's conscious. It's enlightened. It's aligned. It's aligned in the shalom. It's aligned with the Shekhinah. It's aligned with God. And the path, the way to line up. Here's another one on alignment. This is very much so our birthright, to walk this world in alignment, in that tree within us, in us, flowering, and we walk righteously. Right walk, right talk, right actions, coming from right thoughts, connected to wisdom, led by a heart of wisdom, not a heart or compassion that leads us into trouble or danger that's off, but one based on wisdom and intelligence. What's possible, what's not possible today, but will be maybe possible in the future. The balance of our emotions with our desires, with our hope, and knowing how to balance all that, which may somewhat contradict with each other, but our alignment knows, the capital K, how to move forward. Because we're not alone. We've tapped into that connection with God that guides, that has us know how to proceed, how to live, and guides us to return to Him. And right now we're working on Yahweh Shalom and Yahweh Vahe Shalom. That relaxation within ourselves that allows us to start going deeper within, releasing, relaxing, letting go, allowing us to settle, our minds to settle, our eyes to settle, our energy that always projects out to become calm. So when we look out in the world, we're able to pick up, if we're doing a walking meditation, pick up and absorb, as opposed to emitting, putting out, and projecting something that might be more deadened on the world. We calm down, our eyes calm down, our walk calms down. So we have that openness, that extra bandwidth to receive with an open mind, receive and see and feel things that are there, but we're just not, we're too tense, we're too engaged, we're too locked in otherwise. But it's always there, so we can start seeing it. And then our bodies start releasing and bringing in the blessings from outside to nourish us, to open us, to heal, bring into wholeness. So the blessings from within are able to come up. but it requires us to work with our inner energy to open the bounty that's outside, just waiting for us to be able to receive, which creates that sort of wheel of positive feedback, which allows the healing that's within, the beauty within to come up, which in turn allows us to engage with our world, that allows us to create and see an environment that heals as well. So we're now on the upward spiral of increasing openness and healing and a better way of perceiving our world. And we are lifting into higher frequencies. And it begins to reinforce. And we're walking the path. And so it comes to a decision. Do we want to? And do we make the time and effort and start looking into it, exploring it? We become inner explorers of ourselves. Many great teachers and mystics have said the greatest journey we can make is not outside to explore the world, but it's inside to explore ourselves. And inside, we are very, very, very beautiful people. We are blessed beings. There's great blessing waiting for us. Amen. So, we are working on the walking meditation, and I just find it so important. Because there's many different names of God. Shalom really activates something. And I think it really allows us to just slow down and rest. The world is speedy. It's intense. Especially today, it's intense. Our society, our culture, our news, it's intense. It's not soft out there nowadays. So it's important to let us settle, to move deeper within ourselves, to find that juice, that nourishment, those deeper vibrations within ourselves that are always there so they can come forth. When we walk, our body moves. That means our energy moves, our blood moves, the blood moves through our muscles, the impulses move. It allows things to move through blockages. So we're activating our bodies while saying a sacred name of God. And it flows deeper within us, and we see that we say it maybe differently than whether we are seated or whether we're using a different name. Our engagement with each name is different. Each name invokes a different quality of God, invokes a different frequency, depending on the sounds in the name, which in turn affects us in a different way. And why now we are exploring whatever name you wish to use. You could use Emmanuel Shalom, Hashem Shalom, Adonai Shalom. But what I encourage, if you're open to it, engage with Yahweh Shalom or Yahweh Vahe Shalom. YHWH, it's the name that's used in the Tanakh and in the Torah. that God says is his name. I use that because it has great blessing and power. Because we need to tap into that source. Because that's the source of who we are. We're not God, but we are his children. And that source is what gave us life. And so by tapping into his name, we are touching in with that central current from which we derive ourselves, that puts the air in our lungs, the Shekhinah, the life force in our bodies, that anchors our consciousness here in this dimension. And so we tap into that river within us directly. This is a direct path. It's the quickest path. There's a disconnectedness we have, and this uncovers it. It uncovers life. And when we walk and we say the name, or the name we choose with shalom, we are relaxing through that surface we currently have to the deeper wellspring within. And it comes forth. And if we do it in nature, the trees look different. We become like children wandering and seeing that path and seeing that river. It sounds different. And we realize there's great nourishment found within ourselves. The ocean looks different. Our thoughts, a greater trust of where we are now emerges. We see things in a different way, or we see changes that need to be made, imbalances that need to be corrected. The wisdom comes forth, and it's not necessarily the locked-in way that our minds work, but rather a way that our minds and our thoughts could work. There's a shifting. But because it comes from the purity within, it becomes trustworthy. But we have to learn to trust it too. Because sometimes when we start, all sorts of thoughts come out. So we have to be aware. Are we going through layers of trauma, right? And therefore things are coming out that are based on things that we know aren't, actable or aren't quite there? Or is it coming from a deeper place where it's calm and fresh and full of life? These thoughts shouldn't agitate us. They should make us relax and be, wow, oh, this way. Oh, you know what? That's not a good way to go. This is healthier here. You begin to see how those thoughts are different. They have wisdom in it, not tension, not aggression. They show us better ways, healthier ways, ways that people we trust would say, or where therapists would guide us. We understand, oh, I have this. Or you know what? Maybe I need a little medicine here, or maybe I need a little therapy here. Or, my body's really off. I need a massage. I don't feel things are flowing properly. Or I need acupuncture. And we start working with our physical body and our minds to a certain extent. So the veins within us can flow those energies. But a very powerful way is by using sound itself. That's the power of mantra, because it heals. It's energy engaging with energy. So when we say Yahweh Shalom, Yahweh Shalom, Yahweh Shalom, Yahweh Shalom, the peace of Yahweh. And I think next week I'll discuss a little bit again on the name Shalom and what it means, but you may Google it. Let me just pull it up real fast, one moment. I'll get into it a little more next week. I didn't want to really what matters is the frequency that comes from the word. Do you see? Which also depends. Excuse me, I have to plug in my. If that makes sense. But what's important is the frequencies, the energy that comes from the repetition. We don't need to think, we just need to recite. It's very simple. You do the practice, and the practice does you. And you choose which hand you wish to use it. And there could be nothing going on for 45 minutes of your walking practice. You're looking, you're not really feeling anything. And for whatever reason, the last 5 minutes, you feel it. You're like, oh my gosh. Like I was doing Yahweh Shalom with the beads in my left hand. And for a while, I was just doing it and wasn't feeling anything. And towards the last 5 minutes, I felt the pressure on my third eye, which often I find with that practice, as I bring in the name, I feel I'm really bringing in the energy of God and the blessings and the wisdom with my left hand as I use my prayer beads. Each prayer bead moving in, I really do feel it's bringing it in. The power of actually using a physical object. It's the physical act of moving that bead in. I feel each name, I'm inviting that energy into me. And the left hand is the hand that's receptive to that. And I was doing it and I was having a nice walk and, it was just normal. I wasn't trying to feel anything. It was open and it was beautiful. In the last 5 minutes, for whatever reason, I felt a pressure on my third eye. And that's a clearing. That's an opening. And sometimes I feel it right away. And sometimes I don't feel it at all. But you feel what you feel in your body. And that's an opening. When you feel a pressure at some point, like whereas the chakra point, or you feel it more intensely there, that's where the energy is doing its work. Or you just feel relaxation. Doing Yahweh Shalom for me with the right hand gives me great relaxation as I walk. I feel open to the nature. I become a child in wonder. I keep mindful where I am so I don't get lost, but I investigate new trails. I'm like, why not this? Why not that? And I explore and I relax and I feel a deep peace within. But it takes a while. or it doesn't, or you feel different things. But what it should do is make you feel that you're able to take that breath and go beneath that surface layer on which we live at and have a touch in with that inner calm, that inner Shekhinah that wraps us like a golden blanket, and we feel like we're home because it is our home. And our true home very much lives within us. And as we practice, we learn to live from that deeper place. And it's grounded, and it's beautiful, and it's the true us. So why not together? We'll just take a little moment together, and why not just practice together a little bit, if that's okay with you. This is the core of what I try to teach, what I've been teaching all along in different ways, explaining how it works and how the journey is and how to walk it. But it always comes to the practice. And the practice that I focus my teachings on are the practices of reciting, saying the names of God. And everything else comes from that. All the other, any changes you do, or the desire to study sacred texts, or what changes you wish to do or not do in your life, even knowledge that you've never studied but suddenly comes to you, those aha moments, can all flow from the practice. It's from inwards to outwards. Many of the practices taught on this planet are from outwards to inwards. Going to services, studying, prayer, outwards prayer, which is the most common path, the most taught, accessible path. This is a path that's been taught through the ages, but not as openly. It's the path from within, which can give the desire to attend services or to study texts. But the way of walking the path is the source of our main or our motivation, or what we focus on is from working from within, which causes the changes from outside. Not doing things from outside to make changes within ourselves. I personally do both, and I've always done it both ways. But with this focus, we can do it with ourselves. Make those changes with that personal relationship that we can have with just what we do, with what we have. We don't have access to text. We don't have access to services. We don't have access to external wisdom. By doing that practice, we are able to develop those knowledge to a certain extent, because we all know good from bad, but also wisdom that just comes through. And like, how do I know that? Because we're tapped in. And the ability to develop and improve ourselves if we don't have access to those external things, or we're not drawn to them. This practices is a key. It's a golden key that unlocks the bounty within. And it's really about relaxing into it. The names, Yahweh Ori, brings the light within. I feel like Yahweh Ori comes a little do it. It feels like it comes from the outside. Some practices have that, comes in and nourishes us, but it's a name that we're reciting, and the energy comes. The other shalom feels like you're relaxing, 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 and you're touching in. We're working with our bodies, right? Concern the microphones touching in and out. There are practices that we haven't taught yet, but we're having the focus on our bodies. So we're energetically relaxing our bodies. We're releasing our bodies. Where when we relax, our body flows. When we relax, energies move. Yes? If we're tight, if we're open to alcohol and we don't have problems with alcohol, you can take a glass of wine or, a little glass of something harder, which allows us to relax. And then you say the mantra and you'll feel it in a deeper way because we're already more open and relaxed and the name has less to fight against. Yes? It's connecting with the sounds. And of course, with the prayer beads and you're walking around, if you're using them, keep it to yourself. If somebody comes by and, you put it in your hand or you switch hands, or if it's one person and it seems like it'll be fine, then, you keep doing it. But this is an internal practice. It's not to show. It could be done in your room. You could walk at home or in the garden or when you're pruning your roses. Don't do it while you're driving. But always remain mindful of your environment. This is not to zoom out unless you're seated. Then you can go really deep and maybe close your eyes if you wish to, or, not have a fixed look on your prayer space, but something that's a little more out of focus and get into the energy and the flow and maybe even lose yourself in the rhythm and the flow of the energy and have it envelop you. Powerful, beautiful practice. But if you're walking around, you're going into where you're walking. You're more in touch, but you're always present so you don't trip. So it's not to detach, but actually to engage in a deeper way with what's around you. If anything, you see the details in a more so way. As you relax, you move into your environment and you learn to perceive and hear in a deeper way, and it nourishes you. You walk, it feels like the week has disappeared. And when you re-engage with your life outside of the walking, you feel refreshed. You see it in a different way. You feel like, oh, I feel my blood pressure's lower. Oh, it doesn't feel as heavy. I could think clearer. And that's the touching in, that inner medicine, that inner wholeness. So let's just do it a little bit together. I've already been speaking for a while. I don't want to take too much time, but I feel it's important we just do it together a little bit. Get out my prayer beads. And if people want to know how to make them, I think last June, I believe, there's a 3 parts, I think, teaching I gave. Just look up prayer beads on the PDF. I think the link is all there on the archives, and you just put in prayer beads, and then you'll see one part, two part, and I discuss different stones and how to discover your stones, and that's beautiful. Why, properties of stones. I recommend a book, which has it, that I trust, and you learn a little bit about something you don't know about, and it's interesting. I used to think stones were BS, and they're not. And they do have different properties, and you can learn how to feel their properties as you gain sensitivity, and you realize a stone's not a stone. A citrine is not an amethyst, which is not turquoise. And they have different frequencies. And you realize, wow, why couldn't I feel that before? And you're like, oh, wow, wow, I'm more sensitive. Wow, I smell roses in a different way. And this world becomes alive. And you realize you lived in a slightly deadened space. But now you're flowering, you're learning. You realize amethysts have a certain thing, but turquoise feels deeply healing to my body. Maybe my prayer beads should be turquoise or a citrine, or whatever you're looking for. Lapis lazuli. There's so many to choose from. And you realize the journey can be, you feel like a child. You're going through different stones. And you're like, wow, this is so wonderful. And you try to find the best pair, and, or you don't know any of them and they all seem whatever. What color are you attracted to? Which one feels good in your hand? Then you could have several. And you realize they're a form of medicine that exists on our planet. And then you begin to realize these have existed through many civilizations. And now you realize why certain civilizations prize certain stones over in others. And you realize, wow, we've always used these as tools. Why? They work with our inner energy to bring us into balance and wholeness. We like flowers not just because of their beauty, but also because they make us feel a certain way. But by having environments that make us feel a certain way, it helps encourage those energies and those frequencies that live within our bodies to emerge, to flow forth. And that transforms our lives. This is the path of transformation, my friends. This is a path of fundamentally rebirthing ourselves into who we were always meant to be. And we use the names of God. If you're not religious, that's okay. They're available to you anyway. If they work, use them. Whether you believe in God or that you're a child of God or whatever, they're offered to you. Use the names to become the best, most healthy person you can become. They're available to everyone. So let's do a little bit together. Shall we do it the way I do it a little bit? So right now, currently, I like using Yahweh Shalom with my right hand in the beads in my right hand. And it tends to be said a little faster for whatever reason, at least at the beginning, as I start. So if people have prayer beads, you just put them in the right hand. And you should say them at the rate that you feel to say them, at the speed you would like. It doesn't need to be one word, one name per bead. You just move them through your hand at whatever speed you wish, and you recite it at whatever speed you wish. You allow the name to do its work. Yes? So there's no forcing of anything. The practice does itself. Your job, if you choose to do the practice, is to merely, excuse me, one moment, to merely say the name. The name, frequency, the great blessing of the name does the rest. It's actually quite simple. So we'll just start, shall we? If you have a prayer space, feel free to light it up. If you're there, or you're outside, or you're in a chair, whatever. But if you're in front of your prayer space, you light the candle, you put up the incense, you center yourself. It could be a formal practice when you're seated. So I'll give people who are in front of that maybe 20 seconds to start, to 30 seconds to kind of situate themselves. And of course, use the name you're familiar with. There are groups in, there are lineages in Judaism that will not say the names that I use because it's considered something you don't say as much, but it is said in liturgies or doing services, I believe. They might be fine saying it as a name of God in prayer in the way I do it or not. And so you change to where you feel comfortable. But every name has a frequency. So even it's the name you use, it has the frequency of that. So if you use Adonai, right, it's not the same as Hashem. You know, it's Hashem Adonai, right? Yahweh, Yahweh Vahe. All different. El Shaddai, Abba, Emmanuel. Do you see? They're all different. So you could explore them. But it's not just to what you're pointing towards, saying, oh, they're all the same, they're all the name of God. Well, literally, yes. But energetically, they're all different properties, different energies that all come from God. But Abba, Shalom, is not El Shaddai Shalom. You see? Abba Shalom, Abba Shalom, Abba Shalom, Abba Shalom, Abba Shalom. For me, Abba is huge, expansive, global. Abba Shalom. So open, expansive, like for me, basically non-dual. The I love how I go into practice and then I just drop into a teaching. But you know, why not? It's an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And it's good because I mention things I've mentioned in the past, and that way it refreshes people's memory and brings things more, forward. And people who are new, they're able to learn and to pick up on things that might have been mentioned before. So going forward, I've actually realized that I'm going to start touching in on things I've said in the past and in a different way, but that way people will grow. So remember this. So it's two triangles. See, the one pointed up, the one pointed down. It also can be seen as the Star of David, but the Star of David is a highly profound teaching, It's not just a symbol of a religion. So the ah is us reaching up to God. It's the upward triangle. So if I link it to the Kundalini, right? So we have the Sephiroth. Remember the kingdom on the bottom? So kingdom is the physical world. Everything else is energetic in the Sephiroths. Right? So the kingdom is the bottom. So our physical body, our earth, what we are, our bones, everything is in kingdom. So the figurine can be us. So we're in kingdom. Do you see the swirling upwards? So we could say that's the life force, the Shekhinah. It comes in through the first chakra, our root chakra, which is basically where our butt is. Okay? There's 2 chakras in the feet, but we're not going there. The main one goes right up from the perineum, which is between, well, it's that bump between the private sex area and the sort of rectum. Okay, trying to keep it all. There's a place there, and that energy comes up from there. And so you see the spiral of life that gives us life upwards through our body, through the top of our heads. So do you see? So it's the ah. So ah. So the way I'm actually doing it now after that explanation, normally I just say it, but because I've given the explanation, it's connected my mind more to my body, and I've actually took my hand. Maybe people could try that and see if they could start feeling it, because you can't feel it. So with our right hand, energy leaves our body through the palm. There's a chakra point through. This is all real. I said I was going to teach chakras, so here we are, right? I haven't forgotten. We're getting there. So the right palm in the facing outward is a major chakra point, massive. Okay, well, not the ones in the middle, but it's extremely, at least, yeah, it's quite something. Our energy from our body leaves to the right palm in certain respects. So when I did the ah, my palm was turned inwards, outwards first. So the palm's facing out, my thumb is facing my feet. And when I moved it up, I moved it from in front of the center of my spinal column, in front of my body. And I moved it from sort of between my legs. And I faced the palm, moving upwards through my, so we're talking chakras. So the secret chakra, the sacral, the second, where sort of our sexes are, then the third, solar, in the center, the fourth, the heart, the fifth, the throat, the sixth, the third eye, and the seventh, the crown. The sixth, the third eye, and the crown are basically extremely highly linked. Like one is basically a sneeze away from the second one, okay? So when I said the ah, after explaining it, my hand, without thinking, went from facing between my legs or beneath, and the palms went up. And when I felt the ah, I felt, just so you understand what's possible, I felt the energy from my palm inside my body moving up through my third eye and out. So the ah wasn't just from my throat, ah, the ah, because where you put your energy is where the energy is in your body, where you focus. So because my palm emanates a lot of energy through practice, by me pointing the palm, I actually felt the flow of the ah come from beneath my legs up through my whole central column and outwards, which interestingly enough, is the image that's there. You see from below and ah. So the ah coming from us up into God actually just wasn't from my throat and then feel it outward in my aura, ah. So normally if I just say it with my throat and it's the sound leaves my throat and vibrates through my body, I feel an open and spaciousness through my whole body and through my aura. Ah. So with practice, you'll come to see that. So the ah, and I feel towards the end, my third eye releases and I lose a sense of self. I become, I describe it. I'm not trying to use the word that comes to mind first. Fully present where you don't have a sense of self, just consciousness. It's almost like a little burst of light and it's an open awareness, right? So and I feel the energy come from within and kind of blow out through my field and I'm just present and open. So it's the and almost it reaches out. Yes? So why don't you try that with the palm and see if you feel, or just go through the movement, because the movement itself will help awaken this channel within us. So the isn't just from the throat, it's a whole body Your whole energetic spectrum is saying the So the way I was doing it before with the throat, it does connect the whole body, but towards the end when you have that sort of poof and presence and you feel that little blowout of energy out through you, that kind of brings in the whole body, but a little bit more from the outside inwards. Here we're doing the from the deepest parts of ourselves, from how energy normally flows from the lowest, the first chakra, the root, all the way up. So the is a whole manifestation of everything we are. And even if you can't feel it, just moving your hand helps train our bodies and for the energies to start flowing better through our central channel. Because as we start the path, we're stuck in different places. And what we're learning through mantras does this, yoga does this, walking does this, helps move the flow. So the flow starts flowing evenly up from the lower area to the heart and above, which helps us manifest these inner qualities that were always within us, but we're stuck. Do you see? And mantra just naturally does it. And all we have to do is do the mantra. So why don't we try the Right, so remember, it's the and Abba. So to keep it back in that context. So we're just doing the So let's try it. So the palm facing outwards, and as you say it, just kind of move it up. The palm kind of stays where it is. You're just kind of moving the angle up. And I'm seated right now, but my palm tends to be around my belly button. And that's kind of the middle place. And then it just turns sort of upwards. Like you're, like then you end up like holding a book in your hand, sort of face that way. Okay, so let's try. Ah, 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 ah. Do you feel like almost like a little energy massage going? Do you feel the energy from your palm kind of moving up? It's okay if you don't. It took me a while. Yeah, a while. It's the flow that's within us, and we're learning to open that river of purity. And so that's part of the path. So I'm pointing out what's possible. Somebody might feel something and be like, oh my God, oh my gosh, what was that? And that's showing you, wow, that's what that is. Oh, this is something I should, practice and work on and increase. And some people might not feel anything. So oh, okay, this is where we're headed and this is possible. So if you do start feeling something, you're like, oh, and you start getting that, picking up that trail of the path through your own lived experience. So everything I teach is I've experienced. But it takes a while. I've been doing this for a while. And if you think, oh, this is really out there, just keep an open mind. Look at the PDF and see all my teachings, or go back to when I explained parts of this in the past. But a lot of this right now I'm teaching right now in this moment are new in a way, but I've touched upon it in the past. But you are open-minded, and then when you start experiencing things, you're like, oh, this isn't BS. I've learned a lot of things in the past. I'm like, wow, this is out there. Well, open mind, I trust this teacher. It's just, whatever. I doubt I'll ever experience it, or this is just, whoa, And then I have the experience and I'm like, whoa, oh, oh, I didn't understand that. Oh, where's that teaching? Let me go back. So let's just do the ah. Ah, ah. And the ba is the downward facing triangle. So, right, things can go up, past the crown and above. The chakras above the crown, and they are, especially the one directly above, tends to be golden light. So you see saints with halos or prophets with gold around them and above them. That's what it's talking to. Their connection to God, the golden light that's above. And the ba, right, is the blessing from God that enters from the crown, the very top of the head, down into us. Yes? This is why when people give blessings to people, they touch the head. The blessing that comes from outside on the top, down below into someone. Because energy goes up and also comes down. Like Jacob's ladder, the angels go up and the angels come down. So the journey isn't just to go up. The journey is also to bring the energy downwards and to anchor it in your life and in this world. So it's both. You connect and you heal, you bring your energies up the chakras. But then you bring that life force into your body as well. So you connect with that river within, but it's also bringing it out into your life. So is it inward? Is it outwards? Do you see how the path is both inwards and outwards, yet neither? But yet our bodies function in that way as well. So the ba is bringing the energy from above ourselves into ourselves. So it's reaching up and anchoring. So ba, ba. So up and down, when you say Abba, my mind stops. Because it's actually transcendent, very transcendent. It's before duality, or at the instance of duality in a way, that particular name. And if you look at the figurine and what this is, it's very cosmic. You could see duality as up and down is duality. This is up, this is down, it's dual. Good, bad. Grounded, not as grounded. This is very ethereal, very spacious. You see kind of like the universe behind. This is sort of our deep consciousness that's beyond life, this physical life. It's connected, it's balanced. So Abba is very much that sense. The Ah of the upward and the Ba that goes down. El Shaddai doesn't have as much the up and the down. Do you see? It's true. So Abba Shalom, Abba is expansive, but the Shalom is compassion, wisdom, love, intelligence. So that's grounded characteristics. I gave names. They have qualities. That's not non-dual. Because those qualities have their opposites. It's in existence. Non-dual would be like the Aleph, beyond duality. What the Aleph points to is a non-dual reality beyond concepts and names and words. This is a little more complex, especially if you're new. You just catch what you can catch, get the piece that understands, and the rest to be like, oh, okay, that's there. In the future, maybe one day I'll understand, or you go researching. It's not important right now, because this is the teachings of mantra. It's not to understand, it's to do. I explain it so you understand frequency. Understand the power of names and the power of the frequency of the tone and how it makes you feel. The rest is whatever. The power of the inner yogas is the doing and the working with frequency. That's what I'm trying to give you a taste of. So Abba Shalom is not Abba El Shaddai, Abba Emmanuel. You see, Abba El Shaddai, Abba Emmanuel, Abba Adonai, Abba Hashem, Abba Elohim, Abba Yahweh, Abba Yadvevahe. You see, Abba Yahweh, Abba Yadvevahe, Yahvevahe, Abba Yahvevahe, Abba Yahweh, Abba Yahvevahe. You see the difference? They have different qualities. And some you might be drawn to more one day or the next. As you are able to feel those qualities. Right now you might be like, I have no idea what he's talking about. They all sound well, when I say them, when you say them, they might be like, they all feel kind of like the same to me. I don't feel any difference. I don't feel anything at all. That's fine. That's where you are on your path. But with time, as you work on one or on several, you will come to feel that, because the inner wellspring will start bubbling up, because you're summoning the purest parts of yourself. And as you relax and it heals your body, you'll be able to feel it. So you're bringing it forth. It's coming up because you're calling the pure qualities within yourself. But you're also relaxing and healing from the top down. So you're meeting it. And as you do, all of this will open, and all of this you will come to feel. Because I point to it, people having this expression or are here to understand the names, and those who don't quite feel it yet come to see what's possible. So when you do start feeling something, you're like, oh, that's what that is. Oh, okay, you kind of know how to walk it because I've laid out the land. But the path is to say it, and that's it. And if you feel something, don't start analyzing what it is. Just do the practice. If you want to start what happened, that's after your practice, after the energy settled. Then you start deepening your understanding and coming into knowledge that maybe one day you can share as well. But why now it's the name. So we're going to work on 2 names, especially when you're starting out. Focus on 1 or 2. If you don't know which one, and you're open to all of them, best to do the name that the person is sharing with you, because that way you can connect with my frequency and the frequencies of everybody who's saying it at the same time. which will help you to get that experience, that deeper connection. But if a name doesn't work for you, then you pick the name that works for you. And if you don't feel anything, stick with one name. Whatever you feel works, or whatever you feel closest to or drawn towards, that's the name you use. That's the name that resonates right now. So that's the path you walk. And I explain different names so as people develop, they can try different names. And then they really come to an understanding of mantra. Because there's no name better than another name. They all do slightly different things, which help you in different ways. And some you may never do. But it's the understanding of frequency. It's the understanding of divine names and then understanding how they work. And you get an understanding as you come to understand different ones. That's the knowledge I'm trying to transmit here. It's the knowledge of felt experience and the knowledge on how energy works through frequency, through our bodies, and an understanding of the mechanics, the physicality of what's going on. There's a whole thing going on with our body that's much deeper than people talk about. And it's very real, and it's been talked about for millennia. Just not as, it's not as modern, but doesn't mean it's not real. And as you do the practices, you understand it. And as you touch into it, your internal life and your external life will become more and more alive. Because we're opened to our full senses. We've opened to our full birthright. And the path is simply doing the practice. This is the path of mantras. This is the path of energy. It is the path of inner transformation, which leads to an outer transformation. But the path is what we walk inside. If you've noticed, when I discussed the Pinto, the truck, the Ferrari, the Learjet, and then the Starship, these are inner experiences that affect how we live and perceive our world. The same external experience can be experienced as a Pinto, how we go about experiencing it with a Pinto body reaction, or how we experience it or transcend it through more of a Starship or a Learjet or a Ferrari. The same experience. So it's very much the energetic manifestation that we're riding. Right? Here. What are we riding? Are we riding this, or are we riding a Pinto? Or are we riding a Ferrari? He's riding a Starship. See? Full alignment. He's dual, but not fully dual. This is enlightenment. While here, of wisdom and action, life and consciousness, a conscious life. That's it. Well, several of the things I've said previously, but this is a conscious life. He's living in alignment with God, as symbolized by the Aleph. That's sort of in the crown chakra area, the golden light that comes to him on how he lives his life as embodied through the horse. You You could also see it. He's riding the Shekhinah. See above, you see the below, and yet it's all in him. The horse is in him. The Aleph is in him. Do you see how many different ways you can see it? Ultimately, he's living in the state of Abba. That's also him. That's the inner him. Inner, outer. It's quite profound. Yes? These are ancient teachings. If you don't fully understand them, this is advanced, but yet it's not. But yet, if you don't understand, that's okay. You leave an open mind. With time, as you gain experience, and as this isn't brand new, so for many of you it might be brand new, it's a different way of seeing, but it's valid. But it takes a little time to chew on, to gain experience. Those who've been with me for 2-3 years, I hope you're like, oh yeah, now I see it in a different way. I hope it's starting to that it's becoming more and more your understanding. Because mantra has all of this built in the name, in the sound. This is why you don't need to study. You just do, because it's in the perfection of what I explain. The path of mantra is doing the practice. You clock in the time. This is why in many traditions, they tell you to do 100,000 or 1,000,000 or whatever. No, and as other traditions, such as saying, focus on the practice and doing it as best you can. And it's not about the number. It's not about the number. Some people could do 1,000,000. Then they didn't really get anywhere. They're so focused on doing it. Others really do it inwardly, or they just have a greater capacity, or they do it more of a, this is not about the number, it's more about the experience and going deeper and being with energy. And they could do in 20,000 or 10,000 what somebody could not do if they did 1,000,000. It's not about the number, but it is about doing the practice and spending time with the practice. And not just once in a while, but it becomes a regular practice. And it is prayer. You are connecting with God. It is a form of prayer. And you could have actual prayer at the end, at the beginning. You could have something you're thinking about that needs help with as you say the mantra. So there's ways of weaving in things that are traditional, but you're riding the repetition, the frequency, the sounds of the name. You are the rider on the horse, and you're riding the frequency of the mantra of God, the Aleph. You are riding the frequency of God. And as you ride it, it aligns with you, and you become in alignment, increasingly more so, and you become closer and closer to what I call 100% Emmanuel manifestation, God amongst us, but a manifestation through you. But yet you're not God, but you are manifesting the divine qualities of one of his children. And you are purer and purer and closer to the attributes of God as you progress along the path. And the path is one of reciting the names. So, we shall do this. Let's make sure I'm still online. It looks like I am. So, let's see here. Let me see if there's mm, mm. Okay. All right. So we'll do it. We'll do Yahweh Shalom on the right hand. Okay. And so you can say it continuously when you're walking or at home, and you could take little breaks if you wish, or you just say it. It's how you feel. If you feel you need to take a break, you take a break. If you feel you've said enough for the day, then you stop. Or you could say it for an hour or two at a time. It's just a soft relaxation. If you do it walking, always stay mindful of where you are. Don't get distracted and then trip over a rock or fall off a trail, right? You're actually not disassociating, not separating yourself from where you are. If anything, you are going deeper where you are. Your eyesight becomes better, you hear better, because you've gotten out of your mind and you become more present, aware, awake where you are. These practices make you more awake, more present, more in the flow of the life, and less in your mind, but yet more alive. Yes? So let's do it. Yahweh Shalom, 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 Yahweh Shalom. Say it out loud with me, huh? Whatever name you wish to choose. You could say it inside, but you also do mantra repetition outside. So let's all say it together. Yahweh Shalom, 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 Yahweh Shalom. Okay, say it yourself, but continue out loud, okay? can now say it inwardly to yourself. Remember to breathe and relax. Okay, stop for a moment. Just relax, be open. Relax, open, breathe, let go. So now just see how you feel. How does your body feel? How about your mind? Is it calm? It's just you're not thinking, you're just looking at and seeing how you feel. Your muscles, your arms, your mind, your emotions, your breathing. Just take in that information. And you can see that it's different from when you started. And if it's not, with time it will be. The mantras will um, you'll you'll be able to connect with them and they have that effect with time. So see, you're more connected if you feel the relaxation and openness to the energies within your body. And you could even feel energies leaving. As you breathe out, you feel tension leaving and you feel your mind open. Feel the room better. And that's just simply letting out the pressure to a more balanced, open, aware, spacious way of being, where things can flow out and through, and you're more anchored in being present, more spacious, more welcoming and available to the ebb and flow of the energy in your body. And then your true self is able to rise up. You've made room for it. So if you're using a prayer bead, you can move it, prayer beads, to your left hand. Yes. And then on your own time, you can try Yahweh Shalom with the left hand, but we will use Yadve Vahe Shalom in this practice. So let's do that. Yahweh Vahe Shalom, 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 Yahweh Vahe Shalom. And with this practice, I am using one name for each bead. So with each time I say the name, I'm pulling the bead towards me. And I think it's an important part of the practice. So you're literally bringing in the energy into you with the bead. So Yahweh Vahe Shalom, 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 Yahweh Vahe Shalom. If you feel comfortable, say it out loud with me. Yahweh Vahe Shalom, 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 Yahweh Vahe Shalom. This feels very much like a prayer. So if you feel the same way, say it in a prayerful way, with devotion and love, as you say it. Yahweh Vahe Shalom, 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 Yahweh Vahe Shalom. If you say it as emanating from your heart, Yahweh Vahe Shalom, it's coming from your heart outwards. Yahweh Vahe Shalom, Yahweh Vahe Shalom, Yahweh Vahe Shalom, in the prayerful way. And as you bring it in with the prayer bead, you could feel the energy come in. And then you just let go of that thought and you just say the name. And it comes out with devotion. And see what you feel as you bring it in. Then you just let go of any technique. Just say the name, you're open, and you see what arises. But it's a technique on helping to sort of connect with it in a deeper way, to kind of start you going in a way. Yes? Yahweh Vahe Shalom, 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 Yavivahe Shalom, Yavivahe Shalom, Yavivahe Shalom, Yavivahe Shalom, Yavivahe Shalom. Inviting in the Shalom of Yavivahe, of God. Yavivahe Shalom, 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 Yavivahe Shalom. I continue saying it out loud as I go quiet, so you hear your voice. You say it inside of you. Stop, open, be in the energy. Now see what you feel. Open your senses and receive your emotions, your muscles, calmness, clarity. What was your experience? So you stay in that energy, and this is the part where we bless our beads. So our bodies are holding the energy of the name, and it's been going into the beads, but we want to infuse the names into the beads from our body fully to bless the beads with our practice. And so what we do is we put the beads in both of our hands in front of us. We connect with that energy. Maybe say the name a few times. We allow the mantra to fill us. And then we blow that energy out through our mouths into the beads, infusing the mantra into our beads and therefore blessing them with the names of God. Yes? So we'll do that together. You can rub the beads lightly between both hands, sort of fully connecting and activating the beads. And then it's just a soft sort of blow. Both of our hands together, the beads in between. You connect with the name and the feeling of it. Rub them a little bit and just blow it in. And then with a little prayer, after we've blown for the last time, and it's a soft blow, it's like, it's a blow that comes from deep within us. It's a hot blow, it's warm, it has the life, the Shekhinah in it. We're just blowing the blessing of the name into the beads with a prayer that God will anchor into the beads, and the beads will hold that vibration. Yes? So if people want to try it again, if they feel called to, and then sometimes when I finish, because the beads symbolize the prayer and my covenant with God with the recitation, and because we use it with our hands, through each word we say, it blesses the beads, and when we blow at the end, infusing them with the energy we've cultivated, they hold that energy of God, those blessings. So often I kiss my beads in a way of kissing the name, kissing God in a way, kissing my devotion and love and appreciation. And then sometimes I touch the beads with my third eye, between the eyes, and then my heart. And often that finishes my practice. And I find it to be a very beautiful way to show respect for the practice, to end it in reference and respect to the name, as well as showing my love and devotion and appreciation to the practice and to the beads that I practice with, because they're now infused with the name. So the beads become sacred, a sacred practice that has received the vibration. And so they're treated respectfully. And I find getting the blessing from the practice and also the activated stone by putting it on my third eye is a blessing for my wisdom and understanding, which is what the third eye represents. And then by touching it, my heart afterwards is a blessing for my heart, love, compassion, devotion, the seat of one's soul and one's body. And then the beads also get the blessing of the third eye and resonate with the blessings of our heart. So it works both ways. And then I have a little bag that I place them in, cloth. It's very beautiful, has a beautiful design, and it protects them, keeps them from getting dirty. Also, it keeps their energy within the beads, so it doesn't touch anything else, and then the energy doesn't leave. So the beads stay infused, and they're only taken out when I practice, or if I don't feel well, I might sleep with them against me, or if I need guidance and I feel shaky, I might grab the beads as a means to find that stability, because they hold the energy. So we might not always be able to fully cultivate it, but the beads become an aid, a help, a tool, a reservoir, a battery, infused with the blessings of the name. So it's infused with the blessings of God. If you have a family member that's ill and you feel that your beads would provide healing, especially turquoise and things, you can lend them your beads to hold against them, even if they don't have the practice. The mineral holds the blessing, and you pray that it would help heal them. Yes? But it depends the energy that you've put into the bead, as well as the type of mineral it is, or whether you feel it'll help them or not, depending on where you are in your practice and the energy you feel that's been imbued in it. So I hope this has been helpful for everyone. I hope it blesses you in your practice, and I encourage you through the week, to the extent you can, do your practice at home or in your garden, or walk around the room, or go out in nature a little bit and do the practice. We're going to be doing this practice for a while. This is a very core practice. The names do a lot of different things, and as you experience it, you'll experience how, several names, one name, two names, the traditional names of God, or ones that you formulate yourself in combining various names. They all have a certain energy. But this, using the word shalom, which is a word that carries great blessing, really helps us deeply connect with the spring within us. And when we connect with it deeper, then all the other names will be able to resonate in a stronger way, because that inner work, that inner connection, that inner activation, by touching to the life force, to the Shekhinah, to God, Yahweh, Abba within us, really unlocks all the names. So we get all these different forms of blessings, which in turn helps us bless our lives, our journey, and everything that's around us. So may Yahweh Most High be with us forever, guide us, heal us, return us to the wholeness of His presence in us and in our world. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me this beautiful Sunday, and I wish you all the most beautiful of weeks. Bye-bye.